229 total days active, 236 total hours of activity, 1,632 miles run, and 89,869 feet of elevation. So that is my 2025 Strava Wrapped. Now, let's take a little bit of a closer look at how the year actually unfolded. January, 207 miles, up 24 miles on January 2024. And obviously the reset, the start, the build for the new year. My January consisted of starting my Boston Marathon build, which I had qualified for, or BQ, at the Manchester Marathon in 2024. So I ran a 2:58:30 there to give me the opportunity to run at Boston. So that was the start of my build at the beginning of the January. We went away as we normally do with our friends between sort of Christmas and New Year, and spent New Year up in the Lake District, and I did Morecambe Bay Parkrun on New Year's Day. And then just consistently built throughout the month, to be honest. So I had I had a sort of late 30s, a couple of 40s, and then towards the back end of the month, I was running 50-mile pluses. I also had the Canterbury 10 mile. So I ran a course PB there of 65:27, I think, which was about a minute quicker than I'd run it the year before, again, which was really encouraging. Interestingly, that was won by Cole Gibbons, or Cole Running, for the start of his London Marathon build, which obviously went on to go really, really well. And I also won the Kent Grand Prix third place senior men's trophy from the 2024. So the Kent Grand Prix Championship is 10 races. I actually finished fourth, but for some reason I won the third place trophy because there was a V40 or an SM in the top three. But either way, I still won a trophy, and it was nice to be awarded for my accolades. So yeah, all in all, pretty good start to January. February, 235 miles and 61 miles more than 2024. So, and I banked my highest mileage week of the year. So I did a 69 mile or 110k week in February. And it was also my highest mileage month of the year. So far, so good. I also banked my first 20-mile training run as part of the Tunbridge Wells Half Marathon training group runs that they do before the race itself. I then went on to do Tunbridge Wells Half Marathon in a course PB. So I ran a 1:24:18. And I'd run 1:25 the year before. And the great thing about that race was actually I went in to run the first 8 miles fairly comfortably, fairly leisurely, and then kicked on in the last 5. So to run a course PB under those circumstances in a 1:24:18 was really pleasing. And as the evening started to get lighter, I managed to get out with some friends and start doing some hill sessions, which was nice. And then I went down to Hastings Parkrun at the end of February with a view of actually just trying to run a sub-19. So I hadn't really attacked a parkrun for a little while, and came away with a new parkrun PB of 17:59. Now, at that point, I knew I was in really good shape. So, the stars were aligning. I'd had a good Tunbridge Wells Half Marathon. I'd had a good Canterbury 10 miles. I ran 60-mile weeks consistently in February, and things seemed to be going pretty well. March, where it all went wrong. 114 miles and 119 miles fewer than 2024. March started pretty well. So week 1, I was training reasonably normally, managed a 65-mile week, but I had started to get just a little niggle in my right foot at the beginning of the week. Now, it wasn't getting any worse when I was running. It wasn't particularly painful. So I just put it down to a niggle, but it was there and there was a little bit of discomfort. Now, in hindsight, should I have stopped? Should I have rested, iced it, etc.? Yes. But as I said, at the time, it didn't feel like it was much. So I raced the Paddock Wood half marathon on the Sunday of that first week. And I ran a 1:22:04, I think it was, which is about 30 seconds off my PB, which I'd run the previous year. Now, it was a little bit warmer this year, and also, like I said, I had a bit of foot discomfort. So I was pretty pleased with that as a performance. But then over the next week or so, that pain just started getting worse. And we went to Lanzarote for a long weekend the following weekend. I did one run when we got there, had quite a bit of discomfort, and then the morning after went and did a treadmill and had to abort after about a minute because the pain had just got too much. So there we go. So I was then on to Zwifting, biking, just trying to stay fit. I had a couple of physio appointments and an MRI. Now, the prognosis was if I had a stress fracture, Boston was game over. That was going to be months out. If it wasn't a stress fracture, then potentially, it was a 4 to 6 week recovery. And bearing in mind I was 6, maybe 7 weeks out from Boston at this point, it still meant I was not going to be doing a lot of running again until big day itself. So that was March. On to April. April. So 68 miles, 62 miles fewer than 2024, and the month of the Boston Marathon. So I couldn't really run again for the first week or two, and then I decided that I had to go out and test my foot a couple of weeks out, or there was absolutely no chance I was going to be going. I still had a little bit of discomfort, but thankfully the MRI came back as just some swelling. There was no stress fracture, so it meant actually I shouldn't do myself any lasting damage by running it. So 2 weeks before, I basically started trying to go out and do some running just to understand what my marathon pace might look like. I'd already lost quite a bit of fitness because even though I had been doing a little bit of Zwifting and a little bit of biking, I hadn't been doing an awful lot, and it wasn't the same as for me as going out and actually sort of getting miles under my belt running. So to cut a long story short, we ended up going to Boston. There was a lot of umming and ahhing in that last week as to whether, if I wasn't going to be able to give my all, did I want to go? But ultimately, I'd run a BQ. There might not be any other opportunities for me to ever go to Boston again. So I decided that I would go and just enjoy it. So we arrived in Boston on the Friday. I did Jamaica Pond Parkrun on the Saturday, which I think was the highest attended US parkrun of all time at that point, based on that day. Sunday was obviously a bit of a chill day, and then on the Monday, which Patriots Day, was the Boston Marathon. As I said, I went in with very little expectation. I went in planning to just enjoy it, embrace it, cheer the crowd, embrace the crowd, enjoy the atmosphere, and as I said, with no real time goal. I ended up running a 3:28:28, I think. I'll clarify that. And I was delighted with that. Bearing in mind that at the beginning of 2023, my marathon PB was 4 hours 38 minutes. To be able to run a leisurely 3 hours 28 marathon a couple of years later was great. So yes, it wasn't the race I had hoped for, given how well the training had begun going earlier in the year. But actually, do you know what? You've got to take it, haven't you? You've got to take it. The week after Boston, I got back and I marshalled at the London Marathon. So our club have, we get some places in the London Marathon's been a running club, but we get one additional place for volunteering and supporting it. And we all marshal the first mile of the Blackheath start. So I've done it for the last 2 years now, and it is fantastic. So you obviously see there's 3 starts, isn't there? But you see, thousands and thousands of runners, and it takes hours for them all to come past. I don't think you actually realise just how big a spectacle and as big an event as it is until you stand there and in the same spot for 3 hours watching runners come past you. But yeah, that was really enjoyable. Saw the likes of Cole.
Go on, Cole.
Ben is running. Philly Bowden.
Love the grind, Philly.
And managed to film sort of the elites coming through, and it was a really, really good day. It was a bit warm this year. I mean, it was warm for spectating, so I can't imagine how warm it was for running. But yeah, that was great. It was really nice to see some of the content afterwards as well. So, and that was kind of what gave me the itch, if you like, to start doing a bit of vlogging and a little bit of YouTube myself. And yeah, it was the inspiration from the London Marathon content. May. 58 miles and 75 miles fewer than in 2024. But to be honest, it was just a bit of a consolidation month. I just enjoyed doing some park runs, seeing friends, letting these sort of injuries finally clear up, and just embracing the sunshine because it was beautiful weather in May. I continued my coaching course. So I was down in Southampton. I had a practical weekend down there. And I also won the most improved runner of the year at our club awards for 2024. So they have the awards in May 2025, but it was for the previous year, where obviously I'd smashed a load of my PVs in the previous year. So yeah, not a lot to say about May. Enjoyed the sunshine, did some park runs, and got myself fit and ready to attack another marathon training block in June. June, 141 miles, 46 fewer than 2024. So June was about consistency and just getting myself back into a routine post Boston, post the little injuries that I'd had, and actually just trying to get some mileage back in the legs. So I started getting back out with the Harriers. So I did a few of their Wednesday night trail runs. I was regularly doing parkrun, and I also started coaching Ian. So as part of my sort of coursework or on the job for my coaching qualification for England Athletics, I took Ian on as an athlete, and so I started to coach him. And then Claire and I went away to Cyprus. So I ran every day whilst I was in Cyprus. So it's always good to get up first thing in the morning, and obviously the weather's beautiful. But it was just about, like I said, getting that consistency, building that base up again for the next marathon training block for Chicago. And whilst the first 6 months of the year came in at 823 miles, I believe, which was about 20% less than in 2024. Obviously, I knew that I had another marathon training block coming up for Chicago, so I'd be able to continue to build from there. July. So I did 163 miles in July, which was 27 miles up on 2024. Now, this was the month that started to give me the confidence again. So I was consistent, I was building, and I was feeling a lot fitter and a lot more capable of running a good time at the Chicago Marathon. So throughout the month I built, so I started running around about 30 miles in the first week, but by the end of July I was running sort of 43, 45 mile weeks, which wasn't quite where I wanted to be in the end, but it was, the fact that I was getting that build and that consistency was crucial. I also started my vlogging journey really in July. So I did one vlog in June when I did the Cyprus vlog, but yeah, July was actually the first time that I really started doing the Chicago series. It feels like a long time ago now. I think I've done 26, maybe 27 videos. So I am trying to stay consistent on that front as well. The big confidence boost though really for me in July was the East Peckham 10K. I hadn't done a lot of racing over summer. I did quite a lot in 2024, but I hadn't really planned on doing much. So for me, it was just a bit of a barometer and just to understand where I was fitness wise. And I ended up running a 38:04. I did do a vlog about it actually, because I was aiming to run sub 40 and actually went well under that, which again just gave me a really good confidence boost, knowing that I was in that sort of shape, still probably, 7-8 weeks out from Boston, even maybe more. Well, two mistakes there. One, it was about 12 weeks out, and two, it wasn't Boston, it was Chicago. We went to see Oasis, as did, most of the rest of the country. I did a new park run, which was Squerry's Winery, which is fairly local to here, but a beautiful setting. Again, the weather was absolutely phenomenal in July, so it was really lovely to go down there. And that was it. But all in all, July, good month. August, 231 miles, 99 more than in 2024. So August was a big month, second highest mileage month of the year and pretty busy. So I had the track mile championships, the Harriers, ran a 5:24. I had the memorial relays, ran 8:04 and was fourth fastest Harrier on the evening. I visited family up in near Preston, did a new park run, and generally kept the training, the mileage sort of up and around 50, 55 miles a week. So August was a good month. We went to Spain, and I don't know if you saw some of the training videos from there, but I did the infamous 22-mile training run.
Done? Done.
And I qualified to be an England athletics running coach as well, so end of August. So yeah, August was a busy month for me. On top of that, obviously, did my usual park runs. But yeah, the build, the consistency, everything was starting to come together nicely for Chicago. September, 188 miles and 67 miles more than 2024. September was also a month of firsts. I won my first race.
Oh, Gareth, great running, mate. Looking really fast.
So Hospice in the Wheels do a 5k, a 10k and a half marathon every year to raise money for the hospice here in Tunbridge Wells. I entered the 10k last year and I ran that in 40 minutes and 1 second. It's quite a brutal course, to be fair, so I wasn't disappointed with that at the time. But this year, because of the timing, I decided to enter the half marathon and I managed to win. So I ran it in 1 hour, 25 minutes, which was, given how elevated the course is, it's 2 loops, I was really pleased with that. So yeah, that was another good barometer, another good test for me in terms of my fitness. Also in September, I marshalled at the Eridge Trail Race. I didn't fancy doing it. I decided, because it's quite rooty, it is quite traily, quite boggy, that given that I was so close to Chicago, I didn't fancy, twisting an ankle or slipping up or injuring myself. So I marshalled that. But yeah, all in all, again, September, good build into the taper. So 3 solid weeks of training and then a week of taper before October and Chicago Marathon month.
October, 94 miles and 29 fewer than 2024. Now, obviously, October was the month of the Chicago Marathon. I made quite a few videos about Chicago, pre, during, post-race, so I'm not going to go into too much details today. But ultimately, I ended up running a 3:02:50, having gone out trying to run a sub 3. But it is what it is. You'll have to watch the video to find out what happened. So that was October. The week after I got back, foolishly, I then did a hilly cross country 6 days afterwards at Summerhill with an absolute brute of a hill, and my legs were shot. Shouldn't have done it really, but I wanted to see the Harriers gang. And yeah, sort of perversely enjoyed it in a kind of sadomasochistic way. And then I had the Harriers anniversary run, which is a 10-mile run along the Forest Way. So that was October. November, 78 miles and 17 fewer than 2024. So November again was a down month, post-Chicago. I just wanted to let my body recover, reset a little bit. So what happened in November? I did my 100th park run. So I banged on about that in a video, if you'd have seen it. I think I'm about to just go and do 104, 105. So I've done a few since then. So I did my 100th park run, got my shout out, which was lovely. I then went to Spain. So I had a nice time in Spain. I went for my the boys' golf trip, where I sort of crashed it, to be honest. I didn't play any golf. I just went for the socialising, and I ran a little bit whilst I was there as well. And then the big event, really running-wise, in November was the Brighton 10K. So again, sub 40 was the aim. Didn't know how I was going to feel post-Chicago. Didn't really know how the fitness was. I ran a 39.06, which, you know, very much I would take. It was better than I'd run 2 years previously at Brighton. So I think that puts me in a reasonably good position from a base fitness perspective for the build to Paris.
December. Oh, hang on. December. 111 miles and 19 more than 2024. That's for the entirety of December, and I've still got a few days to go. So December, I have just trying to become more consistent. So I've been doing some runs with the Harriers gang, some longer Sunday runs. I've been doing quite a lot of park runs, but generally it's just been about building volume up and getting back into consistent training on the build to Paris Marathon. So as we film this, I've got just over 15 weeks left. So I am still in a bit of a base building phase at the moment, but I'm trying to get that mileage up to kind of 50, 60 miles in early January. But yeah, that is my year in review. So all in all, it's been a fairly up and down year. I've done 2 marathons. I did Boston in April and Chicago in October. Next year I've got Paris in April, and then I'll be doing hopefully another one in the autumn or maybe even the winter, depending upon what I get into and what I decide to do. So thank you to everybody that has watched, that has liked, that has subscribed to the videos over the last 6 months. It's been genuinely appreciated. Have a wonderful Christmas and a happy new year, and I will see you in 2026.